up?
What's
going on,
guys? Welcome I do that on all my channels.
Good morning.
Oh my gosh, it is morning. It feels like afternoon just because we've been up early and all that stuff. But welcome back, everybody.
What's up?
Oh, let me go because we're gonna go live. Oh, that's not right. We're gonna go live on TikTok. But as soon as I figure out how to do it. But welcome back, everybody. We are so excited. Oh, great. And you're doing a sound check?
Yep.
So we're up in all the places. We're excited to have you guys back joining us. Welcome to us. Is it crazy or is it God? Is it crazy or is it God? That's what I wanted to say. Welcome back to that, because that's what this is. Is it crazy or is it God? It's our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Me and James, my husband here, and I'm Faith. And welcome to Our Minds, where we just talk about the Bible and how we're reading it, and why maybe you should read the Bible as well. That's something we should think about and talk about. But I mean, no hate or shade and no pressure. We're just sharing, and that's all this is. I'm gonna try to do this. Where is it? Okay, so it's not photo. It's there we go. All right, now I got it. Okay. Welcome TikTok. Now we're back. Welcome back to Is It Crazy or Is It God? So you're gonna have to move over a little bit, I think, so you can see both of us. But anyway, welcome everybody from everywhere, wherever you are. We're literally learning all the things, okay, as we go along, about live streaming, about technology. Yes. We just got rid of our. They can't see you on TikTok. We just got rid of our TikTok. Well, it's not live, but it'll be up on the story. We're basically going to post stories as we go. So, we basically just got, it's so funny. Let's just have a real honest moment. We just got over our attitudes because we were frustrated because we haven't gone live in so long. We were like looking for all our chords and our pieces and stuff. And then, we ran into some troubleshooting, and we kind of both of us separately got irritated at different things, and we had to like pray and just get our minds right, because we wasn't trying to come into here with any bad energy. But yes. Yeah, it's a struggle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a struggle to stay positive sometimes, but hopefully we're going to give you a little nugget of positivity with this podcast or with this posting, however you're finding us. It definitely is a podcast, and you can find full episodes wherever you find podcasts, or you can follow us on, I was going to say Facebook. You can follow us everywhere.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok while it lasts.
Oh my gosh. Praise God. Now listen, another thing is, if you ever try to figure out like where we are, you could always look for us by searching IICIIG, which is the acronym for Is It Crazy or Is It God? Or you could go to our link tree. So if you go linktree /IICIIG, all of our things are there. All of our platforms that we're signed up on, and we're still learning how to use them. So anyway, welcome back to Is It Crazy or Is It God? Okay, so now that you know who we are and what we do, which is we just want to encourage a community of Bible readers to just read the Bible.
Yep.
Right. Now we're going to jump into where we are. I guess, like where we've been and all that stuff. Yeah. Anyway, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How did you apply the word this past week? Because now it's Monday. Normally we go live on Sundays, but
how
Memorial Day.
Did I apply the word this
How did you apply the word this week? And it's so good because we didn't talk about this just now, so it's going to be a fresh answer. And now I'm going to think of my answer too. I mean, I definitely applied it in many ways, so I can pick one. Or I tried to apply it. Don't give me the line. I tried to apply it.
There's a couple things I tried to apply.
Hola, Mr. Damita Jo. Oh, wait. What? I didn't. What?
Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. I was looking at that. Don't worry.
I just put a comment up there.
Yeah, my bad.
Hola, Mr. Damita Jo. I'm still having trouble figuring out which thing to look at, because if I look down here, I'm looking at your comment. But if I look up here, I'm looking at the screen.
Yeah. Okay, so how do I apply the word this week? A couple of Bible verses. I think this week, something that really stood out to me that I've heard multiple times I don't know exactly where the Bible verse is.
Okay, go ahead, just speak on it.
But I think that so two Bible verses. So the first Bible verse that I have on my affirmations. So my affirmations, they aren't in my words because you can't lean on your own understanding. That's what the Bible says. So all my affirmations are all of my affirmations are Bible verses that align with my visions.
Yes, I know that.
Right? So one, if you want to know, in the words of Myron and Bishop, Myron Golden, I listen to him a lot. If you want to know how you live and your ratio, God tells you, right? So in Genesis 2:2, God created the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested, right? So that's a 6-to-1 ratio. So this week I tried to apply that ratio. I wanted to work 6 days out of the week to one, and I wanted to be active. And when I mean active, I mean constantly showing up because God shows up for me. I need to have the ability to show up and serve. So that's 6-to-1 ratio is one. And the other Bible verse I tried to apply or understood and tried to apply to my life is the talent story. So in the Bible, a person was given 5 talents, 2 talents, and 1 talent. And the guy with 5 talents went to the marketplace and turned into 10. The guy with 2 talents went and turned into 4 talents. And the guy with 1 talent came back and buried it. So the moral of the story is God works in multiplication, not addition. That's a whole nother, that I could talk about that for an hour. But
how did you apply it?
How did I apply it? I applied it this week by showing up. Because by showing up and serving other people rather than myself, that helps me not only serve but determine the talent. So by going out in the community to serve, you're able to multiply your talents because not only are you helping other people, but you're helping yourself as well. Because if you serve people before yourself, it helps you on the back end. So that's how I applied the word this week is my ratio and my talents to serve.
All right. Hand clap for the man. I love it. It's so funny because we actually got some confirmation yesterday when we were in church. There's got to be a different way for us to do this, but whatever. Because they actually have brought that same story up and you had already been applying it. So that was really interesting. And we've heard that so many times, like just things that we listened to about that Bible verse, which I cannot remember right now, but I think everybody kind of knows or has heard of that before. But good stuff. Okay. Listen, guys, if I'm going to be real, I struggled this week on a lot of stuff. I mean, I'm going to tell you how I applied the word, but I think I would be remiss if I didn't just mention that, like, it's hard. Like, like we do this as almost like an accountability thing when we go through and we're like, how did you apply the word this week? Because like, I would imagine sometimes we just didn't, but we try to pretty hard. So I mean, sometimes it's just less than others, but it's hard to do, especially when you're talking about like your mindset or just different things. And recently, we'll get into that later, but I've just been noticing some things about myself and just the way I react to things. But okay, to answer the question, how did I apply the word this week? I tried to apply. Well, I was learning about a few things, and I'm gonna tell you exactly which verse once I get my life together over here. I don't even know where. Is this it? There it is. Oh no, that's not it. Well, everything came crashing down. I was studying a couple of verses this week. Hold Habakkuk, which I don't know how to say that. Was it this one? Yeah, Matthew 7:7 and 7:8, and which is really funny. I'm going to tell you what it says, but it also Proverbs 22:29, which is really interesting. So one of the things I've been struggling with is, I guess I don't want to say imposter syndrome, because it's taken a really weird and bizarre like space in my life, and I think it needs to be probably called something else at this point besides imposter syndrome. But like, I've been struggling with kind of like the opposite of what you apply, so like using my talents, using my gifts, and there's certain things that I feel like God has told me to do, and it's not that I'm just being disobedient, like, oh, I'm never going to do that, God, you got the wrong one. But I have been kind of hesitant, and certain things are so big that I don't know like where to start. So it's almost like I think I'll be accurate in saying I've been stalling in some capacity. Like, other things are just more important right now than what you have for me, God. Like, that's what I've been saying. It sounds so disrespectful when I say it out loud, but it's literally what's been happening. So that's, I guess that's what I meant by like, I've been struggling, but I'm not struggling in the way of like life. Like, I feel good. I'm having a great time, other than the the daily like attitude meltdown, right? Like, I'm having a really good life. Okay, so then there's that. Go ahead and post it. We have no idea what we're doing. Go ahead and post it. I don't know what to do. We're just working out the TikTok stuff. So anyway,
keep going.
So I'll tell you what I've been working on. So number one is that Matthew 7:7, 7:8, which is continue to ask God, and God will continue. God will give to you. Okay, continue to ask God, and God will give to you. Continue to search, and you will find. Continue to knock, and the door will open for you. Here's what's interesting about that verse, right? Because like, you hear it a lot: asking, you'll receive; knock, and the door will open, right? But what I realize is that it's one of those things. No, it's okay. We're learning together. What I realize is
getting banned anyway. All right, let me stop.
Whenever it repeats, and like I've seen this a couple times in the Bible, I read further into it, because a lot of these words have more than one meaning, and a lot of the circumstances. It's so funny how you just find the connections. But what I realize about this: continue to ask, and God will give to you; continue to search, and you will find; continue to knock, and the door will open for you. And then the next one says, everyone who searches finds; everyone who knocks will have the door open, which means believers and non-believers. Like, the rule works. Okay, asking you'll receive; knocking, searching you'll find. But I think the word in itself, like the Bible, is just like the instruction. And if you can get enough of that information seeped into you, like, it's more like your life is more enriched. Like, you know exactly what to do. Like, for everything that you could come up with a problem for, there's an answer in here. So in the same way that the laws and stuff like that work, because they're universal laws, it's interesting because it's also just like intertwined with the word. Like, I'm not saying the word is not the law, but anyway, I'm all over the place. But what I realized from this is that it works, and it always works. And sometimes I question not my faith, but like my ability, and I question whether I can do something. But it's like, oh, it's not me, especially when God asked me to do it. It's God. So of course he's gonna do it, right? I just have to show up. Right. So but that's what I'm struggling with, because I haven't necessarily shown up everywhere. I show up in the places where I feel like I show up in the places, just being real. I show up in the places where I feel like there's gonna be, this isn't like a rule of law or anything. I'm just telling you, just being transparent here. I tend to show up in the places where I feel like there's going to be a penalty if I don't show up, right? But all the other places, I'm just kind of like, oh, well, that's not, and I'm not saying that's a bad way to be, but that's just where I am right now. But it's not where I want to be. So in some senses, it is a bad way to be, because God's calling me to do something very specific that I have been working on, but I can't say like unequivocally like the way that I do my work for my office work, that I'm doing the work that God gave me. So just being real with that. So I've applied the word in that way. And I mean, like, just trying. You look giving me the funniest look.
Because I tried to apply the word.
And let me just tell you this other verse. You got to respond to that.
Yeah, I got to respond to that because it's something you asked for.
And then, so the God gives me my strength. He makes me run fast like a deer. Basically, like Habakkuk. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, but
it's okay.
3:19. Yeah. Everybody knows about Habakkuk 2 and 2:3, right? I love that one, but this is 3:19. The Lord God is my strength, my source of courage. He has made my feet like a deer's feet. Like basically, this is the amplified version, so I was just kind of skipping over.
Okay, deer's feet. Okay.
He makes my feet. He makes me like a deer, which does not stumble. It's basically like he's gonna prepare you for whatever. Yeah. Right. So this is the last one I kind of looked at this week. Proverbs 22:29. And this is more to speak about like what he's preparing me for. Do you see a man skillful in his work? He will stand before kings, not before obscure men. So basically, like, you know, when they built the tabernacle and they were getting the best of the best, like we need the best people to carve wood. We need the best people to make these garments and to make these tapestry and like all this stuff. We need the best people to work with these metals. It's like, okay, when you are the best at what you do, you work at a higher level. You don't just work for everybody. Not to say I have a problem working for everybody, but it was like one of those things that I feel like God highlighted for me. Like, listen, I need you to be a specialist because you're going to be doing things that I'm asking you to do. So you need to prepare. And I feel good about that because I feel like I have spent a lot of my time specializing, you know. But anyway, listen, that's enough about us, guys. I just wanted to start it out with how we applied the word this week. And okay, so please respond to what I was saying about the seeking and knocking and how I haven't been showing up.
Okay. So you asked God for this. I believe showing up is faith. So the two things that we struggle with. Okay, so I'm going to mention you and then I'm going to say my faults, right? So I think showing up is faith because you don't see and you ask for to have faith like Elijah. So
yeah, I did.
You got to be careful what you ask
you
God
really
for.
do. You really do. Like I did it right here.
And I don't even think that's I know one thing about God. He's gonna, if you ask for it, you shall receive. So
hello, I just found out.
And I don't even think I think this is just the beginning. So.
It's so funny how that intertwines because I asked for that. And then it's almost like God is reminding me, like, hey, listen, remember what you asked for, you receive. So just don't even trip when I give you what you asked for.
No.
That's so funny.
And I asked, so this morning, I struggled with aligning. So right now, I'm going to break down struggling. And then I guess we can go into it, right? So I had an attitude before we got on camera because I was like, oh man, we're not going to get everything done today. And then I had to realize that I am not who I am 3 years from now. And I have to realize that this is a new process, a new habit I'm setting up. And everything takes patience.
You're saying you're not the future you yet.
I'm not the future me yet.
Right.
Everything takes patience. So my attitude came from my impatience. That's not a word, but if it is,
impatience.
I just made it up. Impatience-ness.
No, that's not a word.
That is James's word. This is a Jamesism, okay? Which means that I was just trying to hurry up and get something done and not allowing it to further play out its process. I'm trying to microwave it when it needs to be put in the oven, and I need to make the cake. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm I'm trying to skip steps on making the cake, and it ain't even in the oven yet. So that's sometimes that.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, you gotta be careful with that because I mean, just from a cake, because I like to bake, so I know if you get one little thing off, like even if
you don't put it in the microwave. Right?
No, even if you put like a teaspoon and where it called for 2 teaspoons, it's gonna mess up the whole thing. You gotta start all the way over. That's the thing about trying to rush stuff. It's so funny how many things are connected that make sense, that have parallels, and but you just kind of like don't make the connection until you have these types of conversations. Okay, so Damita Jo has some comments for us. Facts. Be careful what you pray for because it's coming.
Yeah, I pray for patience. And
yeah,
I don't think
and then you get.
I think this is just the beginning. I think this is not even what we've asked for yet.
And you just get an opportunity, just like me. I'm getting the opportunity to be patient.
It's gonna really come.
And it's wild that I asked for that, because I didn't even know what I was doing, but I knew that I can commit. Like, I do know that that's what I do want. I know that I don't want the alternative or something, I guess not even less, but oh, forget it, God. I don't want to have faith, right? Like, I don't want to say that. Like, that's really like, that's not good for me. Yeah. Right. So, but it's like for me to say, oh, I wish I had faith like Elijah. Like, that's wild, because that's going to require me to
create fire out of nothing.
Well, sure. like because that was the whole thing that it came from. Like, I know I don't, I know I'm not like Elijah in that way. I'm not that powerful or that faithful yet, but I do aspire to be that. But see, let me be careful with my words. Let's move right along, because anyway,
I have some patience. Like,
let's get to this other comment. Just focus on doing the best you can in the present, because you're planting seeds. Amen to that.
Yeah,
that's one thing that I have been focused on recently, is just like, you're always creating your life. That's one thing that I would live by. It's like, you're creating your life all the time. And so the time that you spend, the time, the resources and energy and faculties that you do have control over, just use those to your best ability. And then that's all you could have done anyway. Because all the things that are working against you, that I'm really learning a lot, but all the things that are working against you that might have an impact on your outcome, you could never have changed those things anyway. Like, you could never have had control over those things anyway. So instead of focusing your power on those, or focusing with energy and speed and agility and all the stuff that you do have towards the things that you can't control, might as well just apply them to what you can control. So there's that. Anyway, did you post that? I don't even know how this works, guys. Sorry, TikTok. But here we go. So listen, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this episode, because this is a little bit different than other episodes, just because we've been gone for a while. So we might as well just address that real quick. We took a little beat back in maybe March or April, just to handle some life stuff that happened, and and then just like the way, I don't even know if it's like Newton's law or Murphy's. I don't know what law it is, where it's just like object in motion stays in motion, right? Object in rest stays in rest. So when we intentionally took a couple or maybe like 3 weeks off, like, okay, let's just figure this out and handle this, and then it was harder to get back started, because it's like, oh well, we'll just do it next week. So then 3 weeks turned into probably more like 6 weeks. I think we've been gone for 6 weeks, but it's fine. We're back.
Yeah, we're back, and guys, we're going to start showing up more for you guys. So we're just gonna be this summer. We're just gonna work on consistency to film, so we can just be there for you, because it's not about us. This isn't about us,
Indeed. I mean, it's not. Even though it's helpful to us, because it's a level of accountability, which is what we started doing anyway, because we were always wanting to read the Bible all the way through. And then that's why we started this channel, because we're like, oh, it's more likely that we'll actually show up if we have to report out. So anyway, the report is we're back. We're going to be back to our regularly scheduled programming. But let's go ahead and get into the content this week. Now that we've addressed that. You talked about the consistency piece and like why it's important for us to be consistent, because or you to be consistent, because God shows up consistently. Yeah,
God shows up. Yeah, he always shows up for you. When you pray, God's always there. So if he always shows up for you, why am I not always showing up for him?
Well, there's a few reasons for that, but I find that
what's up, Rose?
It's
Rose
Newton's law of motion. Y'all, we got an all-star comment section over here.
We must be
we
special.
got Miss Damita Jo in the building.
This is pretty big.
Okay, first of all, we got Miss Damita Jo over here, just spreading wisdom all over the place. Then we have Rose. Welcome back. Oh, thank you, man. This is awesome. This is awesome. I feel so. It's Newton's law of motion. Thank you so much. I feel so blessed to have these all stars in the comments for real. Yeah. But we're gonna go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
It's funny because we read Isaiah. We actually read a couple of things, and because we were off, like we just kept reading, and then we're like, let's go back, and so that we could, do what we came to do.
Good. It was good.
It was good that we went back though, because there was some things that when you read it the second time, or like
I didn't understand it first time. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, this is, I don't know. But also maybe I didn't understand it because it was like I confusing because Isaiah and God are having like a conversation.
Yeah.
And the first time I read it, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. And then when I read it the second time, I was like, oh, well, this is why I don't understand, because God's talking.
So, okay, just to be clear, we read Isaiah. We're going to just only go over Isaiah 1 through 9, right? Chapters 1 through 9. 1 through 8. Okay, because we read a whole bunch. We read past that, but we're just going to focus on 1 through 8 because there's so much there to unpack anyway.
Yeah. And then we haven't seen y'all in a couple weeks, and we wanted to say how we were doing and being accountable for the 6 weeks.
I don't know. It doesn't.
Anyway, doesn't matter. But that's why. So
because time doesn't exist to God. Listen, we're here now.
Yeah, it exists to us.
I mean, this is like
we created it,
but it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah, because in the beginning, God created the heavens and earth. In the beginning is when time started. Now, time started for us. Never mind. That's a whole nother thing.
Listen to this guy. About to go off on a tangent.
Time started for us when we were concentrated on lack, and then we ate the fruit. I'm gonna say we because both of them did it, Adam and Eve, and that's when time started. Because then, why you find a verse, I'm gonna continue to expand on this, because Satan said, if you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will surely not die, and he lied. So
yeah.
Okay.
I said to myself,
whoosh.
He lied like 2 days.
He straight lied.
Oh my gosh! Anybody who's been following the whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar, that was a joke for that. Like, Touche said you was cool, but he lied.
Yeah,
right. It's like so. I guess him and Isaiah had that comment. Anyway, here's the deal. I was really confused about Isaiah, so I'm excited to read Isaiah first of all because one of your favorite verses in here, my grandmother's favorite verse,
yes, it is.
Which is Isaiah 40. Is it 40:31? I'll find it, but I'll shout out to my grandmother. Rest in peace. Yeah. But I was excited about this, but then that's
the one that's on. If it's 40:31, that's the one that's on my vision board. I mean, my affirmations. That's the one where it says, "But they shall wait for the Lord, shall renew their strength. They shall mount up wings like eagles." I'm sorry, Isaiah 40:31. But they who shall wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. Mm-hmm. That was your favorite verse? No, that's your favorite verse. Yeah, I thought. Okay.
No, that was your verse.
40:31. You said your grandma's verse is 40:31.
How could you?
It's 40:31.
Huh. No, that's not it. So I obviously have the wrong one. It might be 30 something. I'm gonna find it right now. But it's basically like I will guide you with my righteous right hand. Don't be afraid.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll get to that. That's not what we read anyway. We actually are still in the beginning of Isaiah, and I'm trying to figure out who Isaiah is.
Yep.
What? Oh yeah. So Rose was saying like she was calling out Rose words anyway. But I was trying to figure out like who Isaiah is. I feel like didn't he or maybe I remember
Isaiah was a prophet.
He was a prophet,
and he saw God in his dreams.
Similar to many people who we've read about, he kind of had some sort of like he had some animosity towards people because of what they were doing, because of their sin. So sometimes, and this is easy for people to do, and I think it's just gonna be real. It's a lot of church people are known for this sort of thinking, which is like, oh well, you're not supposed to do that, so I dislike you. Right? Like, or I have to shun you because you're not supposed to do that. It's a very fine line between, if somebody's doing something that you don't agree with or you dislike, you can, sort of like separate yourselves from them. You don't have to judge them though. But I think it's a natural thing because you just sort of like are trying to stay away from the thing yourself, and then somebody does it and you want to name it. But God doesn't like that. Like, one of the things we have to realize when it comes to judging other people is that God made all of us. So you might think that somebody, is doing the wrong thing and you feel like you need to call them out. That's not your job. That's not our job, right? Like, we have to live and let live. Sure, share the gospel with them, share your opinions with them if they want that, but it's like you have to live your life, and the judgment of you, like the judgment by you to someone else, really just, it's not helpful. It's one thing if you're trying to help somebody and you're like, hey, maybe you didn't know this, but let me share it with you, and then if you're willing, I can help you do this, right? Like, maybe you didn't know you were going the wrong way, maybe you need a ride over here. That's one thing, but to really like shout out the window at somebody and say you're going there, right? It's like, okay,
because then you get into that judgmental tone.
Yeah, as I tell you though, it's easy to do.
It's very easy.
So I'm not saying that as like especially a judgment,
especially if you're a prophet.
But I think a lot of times that's what sort of like church folk are sort of like known for, which is why people don't like to go to church. One of the reasons. And it's like, listen, man, we're all just out here trying to do our best, I think. And so that's that. But anyway, Isaiah kind of had some of that sort of like, that's what I took. He had some of that with him, like okay, well, these people are doing this wrong, and so I hate them, or whatever. Yeah. But he had a conversation with God.
Yeah. The meaning of Isaiah is Yahweh is salvation.
That's kind of like what he stood for, because he's basically just telling us about what's to come, and about Jesus, and that's a theme that I'm seeing too. Like, obviously in the Bible, if you've ever read it, you already know this, but like one of the themes that I'm seeing is, for anyone who could have doubted the Bible, it's like there's so many references to what's about to happen before it happens. So if you're walking around with somebody, and this is the Bible's not a person, but just imagine like you're walking around with somebody and they're starting to like do things like in a psychic way, like in a prophesying way, like, oh, that light's about to turn yellow and then red, or that's obvious, but like, this is about to happen over here. There's going to be a tree that falls down. Oh, there's going to be a loud sound that comes from here. Oh, there's going to do this, it's going to do that. And then you start to see those things happen. They saying it before it happens, and then you witness it. Then you're more apt to believe it, because you're like, oh, wow. Like you said that would happen, and now it's happening. So it must be true. You must be the source of truth, right? So I think that's kind of like why the Bible does that. It like names things that are going to happen in the future, because it's just solidifying that like this is the truth.
Yeah, I believe so. Because I think that the bloodline of Jesus has been mapped out. So by the time he comes, there's no way that there's no mention of him in the Bible. So it's like Jesus was mentioned here. I mean, you could. I think the first mention of Jesus might be Abraham.
I don't know. You ain't gonna get me the line, because I don't really know. And there's certain
God said your generations and generations and generations are gonna save it. I think because Abraham bloodline is to Jesus. I believe. Well, we know David is direct, but let's go to what Isaiah said. Isaiah said that David bloodline is going to be the true bloodline of Jesus.
Okay. So do you want to start with here?
Yes.
Okay.
So Isaiah 1 through 4. A stubborn nation. So this is Isaiah is just as what Faith talked about. It's kind of like he's trying to tell people like, hey man, Jesus is coming. Change your ways. Nobody's doing it. Um, and then we got um, a mountain of the Lord, then the day of the Lord, then the judgment of Israel and Judah, and salvation. So when it says the mountain of the Lord, I believe it is chapter. Wait, hold on. I'm not tripping. It is chapter. Is it 2? Hold on. Wait. No. I'm trying to see when he saw God. I think it was chapter 2. Hold on.
I feel like it
So
was
when Isaiah saw God sitting on the throne, when he had the dream, and he saw God with the angels, and God was sitting on the throne, and an angel he gave Isaiah a coal and said he was purified, and to give the message. I'm gonna find that because Isaiah dreamt and he saw the Lord sitting on the throne, and there were 6 angels around him, and the angels weren't the angels that we see on TV. I think sometimes we see these things on TV and it's not what the Bible says. Let me find that out because I believe it is.
It's somewhere between 1 and 4 because that's where the question comes from. So I don't know. Well, should I go to the question or you want to go? Okay, so the question is: God balances judgment and mercy. How does it show here? And this is again referring to Isaiah 1 through 4. God balances judgment and mercy. How does he do it here? Okay, so just remembering what I read here, it's like these people are already like in sin. They're corrupt. They're living out of the favor of God, and I believe Isaiah just wants to he's trying to just get it over with. Like, okay, well, I guess you're gonna deal with them since they're not doing what you want, God. And God doesn't work like that. And I think that's kind of like we were just talking about, ironically. God doesn't work in the way where you think it should work. It's like he uses his own principles and rules. Like, God is God and he is who he is. And if you don't study him and know who he is, then you don't, some things we will never understand because his ways are not our ways. But he uses mercy. He gives us all grace. But he does use judgment. But what I'm noticing a pattern of, he will warn. He will warn first. It's not like it's just going to come out of nowhere like pop quiz. It's like, okay, this is what is right. These are the precepts. These are the covenants. And you're going to be warned. And then you're going to be held accountable. But he gives you so much time. Like, he gives you so many chances. But you're not going to be able to say you didn't know. Right? That's the thing about it. It's like, you're not going to be able to say you didn't know. So I think Isaiah is coming in with this idea of like, oh, come on, let's hurry up and get it. Let's get this done. These people aren't doing right. We get them out of here. Come on, God, let's go. And that's not how God has operated. That's not how he does it. So, so that's the answer to the question, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So God balances judgment and mercy. How does he do it?
Yes, my bad.
God. Well, actually, how he shows it there is the cold part. Because Isaiah thought that that's Isaiah. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, I lied.
My bad.
So I lied. I be lying sometimes, but I don't be meaning to.
Everybody lies.
Okay, so so how do you think?
The first lie was Jesus.
How do you think God balances judgment and mercy? How does he show here?
I think.
How does it show?
Oh, I think that just like you said, I just believe that first thing God does is he looks at the whole, right? I think he looks at everything and says, first, I think he goes to the beginning of a problem. And I think he looks at it and says, well, okay, you're not doing right. You haven't been doing right. I'm going to make sure, right, that you're able to follow my guidelines. And you're not following my guidelines. But I'm going to warn you. I'm going to give you, it depends on how many chances and it depends on what period of time is it. What I'm noticing from God is we're in Isaiah now. He is not changed. He's still the same God. But his judgment and mercy depends on each situation, I believe. I think he's fair across the board. Mm-hmm. So he's saying, because this is not just one person. This is a whole nation. God takes that into account. Mm-hmm. He's thinking, okay, listen, I promised Abram, I can't go back on my promise because this is the truth and I'm the Lord. If I go back on my promise, existence fails to exist. Right? There's no more existence. So I think he says, hey, let's just look at everything and we're going to figure it out. And I'm going to give you mercy, just like he did with the people of Jonah. It's another good example. Mm-hmm. When Jonah came and God says, do this, they follow they were sinning. Right? They were sinning. God said, hey, give you another chance. They said we didn't know we were sinning, which most of us don't know. This is our nature. He says, okay, y'all are good. Same with the golden bull. When Moses was at the top with the tablets of golden bull and he left his brother Aaron in charge. People get on Aaron. Aaron was high priestess and he was the first one in the tabernacle, first one ever to put on the ephod. And he even started worshiping the golden bull. Came down. Was like, what are you doing worshiping the golden bull? You're supposed to be worshiping God. He's like, my bad.
I got caught up.
That's what humans do, right? This is what we're doing. Now, God, you know what God judgment? Moses was more mad than God was. God was like, hold on, wait. Give him a choice. Either you're going to worship the bull or you're going to come and worship me. That's judgment, right? That's fair judgment. To
give them the choice.
Discern, yes. The judgment is discerning between what is right and wrong. Mm-hmm. And then I think mercy is giving people grace.
Okay.
So I think God's like, I know you did wrong, but I'm going to give you another shot. God's very merciful. He's merciful with us right now. He could end this all right now if he wanted to, but he doesn't.
It's so interesting that you made the connection because I was thinking that too. I was thinking about Isaiah and Jonah kind of being similar in that way, where it's like they both had this idea that like, oh, these people are doing wrong, and it kind of reminds me of Moses too when he clinked the rock. He's like, sure, like it's cool, like these are my people, like. Why you mad? But I see why you mad because I've taught you the right way. Yeah. But it's so funny because
he can't get mad at. God can ask why, but I think he's like, all right, I like that young pit bull.
Well, here's the other thing, because you have a heart after God, like he's going to be, Yeah. But the idea too is like we're actually looking at these stories. It's like the fourth wall when they say like you don't break the fourth wall. We're the ones who are studying the stories, and so what are we taking? Like we're looking at the full scope of things. Like all these people are sinning, but the idea is that we're looking into the mindset of an Isaiah and saying like, okay, what can we learn from what he did and experienced? And that's why I was like, that's what I just had that moment. That's why I'm taking you here because I'm like, oh, this just blew my mind. But it's like, even when I think back, and I'll just go back to Moses because I know a lot more about Moses than I do about Isaiah. Looking at his story about how he was, he murdered somebody. Like definitely imposter syndrome with him in a number of ways. First of all, he was Hebrew and he was with the Egyptians. So I'm sure he dealt with this, a fair bit of racism in his younger days, maybe even beyond. And then just when he was called with the burning bush and he was like, whoa, not me. Obviously, like I can't speak that well. So it's like this imposter syndrome, right? So, but are we to look at the circumstance and sort of like judge Moses in the circumstance, or are we to look at it and learn by example? right? And that's the thing that I'm kind of like getting right now. It's like, oh, we're supposed to learn by example. Like, okay, this is the mindset that it's most natural to have, and even my most blessed and anointed servants have been susceptible to this natural way of thinking. But I'm calling you to look at this and see if would you make this choice or would you make that choice. It's like, the judgment is really for ourselves individually. And God will judge the rest of everybody else. But it's like for us to sort of like it's interesting because it's like you really are supposed to use the word on yourself. You can't really necessarily, unless in your family, sure, but you can't necessarily control everybody else. All you can do is control your own actions. So it's like looking at the story. That's just kind of like a fun moment for me to just realize that, like, oh, we're looking at what not necessarily like what's right and wrong, but we're looking at how easy it is to be like this. And then we have the choice to make to say, okay, how do you think that works? Right? Because after reading the story, of course, we've not gotten through Isaiah yet. So, and Rose, I'm going to get to your question too, but my grandmother's favorite verse was Isaiah 41:10. Okay. Found it. Shout out to you, Grandma. Rest in peace.
Shout out.
Yes. Sarah Carter. Okay. So, do not fear anything, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Be assured, I will help you. I will certainly take hold with my righteous right hand, a hand of justice, power, of victory, of salvation. And this is the amplified version. That's why it was so long. So anyway, back to this, because we're going to go over. So that's how God balances judgment and mercy, from our opinion. And again, you got to take all this stuff with a grain of salt, because we're just learning this, and we are giving our own takeaways and interpretation. So certainly, if there's something that you get out of this verse and you want to share, you can do that. And we have a beautiful, juicy question from Rose that we're gonna address after we go over this.
Okay.
But next is Isaiah 5-8.
Yes. So this is the part I was talking to. My bad. I was being impatient again, right? All right, so we got the vineyard, the woes and judgment, the commission of Isaiah. The commission is when he's given to God to go start prophesizing, telling people. Because what God does with prophets and what God does with all of us is he gives us very specific instructions. And it's whether or not up to you to follow those. But some people he picked out that are special, and that's above the rest. Those are like prophets, judges, great kings, that stood out. So, not everybody has this. And listen, and God could have, there still could be preachers and prophets and pastors nowadays, but for you to have, if you're a prophet in the Bible and you have a book, it's huge. So that's what I think the commission, he set out to do these things that God has chosen him to do, which is phenomenal, I think. Then it's the sign of Emmanuel, and what Emmanuel is. I believe the definition of Emmanuel, I'm gonna look it up.
God with us.
Yes. So God with us is Jesus, coming of Jesus. So he's telling people that it is the coming of Jesus. And this is the umpteenth time we heard this. Assyria is using the judgment and the warnings of the occult. So this type, what stood out to me is when Isaiah 6 is when Isaiah actually had a dream and saw God. And
that's in 6:1, 6:2.
Yes. He saw God. And he said he saw him. I'm actually going to read it. Isaiah 6:1 through I'm going to do 4. All right. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Above him stood the seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 he covered his face, 2 he covered his feet, and 2 that he flew. And one called to another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And Isaiah was like, yo, but because I think that when we watch TV, which is cool, and we think of angels, I don't think we're thinking of the angels that are portrayed in the Bible. So they're saying 6 wings. 6 wings. And if you look at the seraphim, it's I think it's the biblical version is a very,
I'm gonna put it up here, but
yes.
it's very disturbing. I just want to
Yes.
give a disclaimer, because this is when I first saw it, I was like, yo, if I saw one of these in real life, you bet guaranteed I'm running and screaming. I mean, I don't know. We have to see what happens, but these things are scary looking. Okay. Just want to say.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share it now. So if you want to look away, feel free. But this is what a seraphim looks like.
Yeah.
And you can see like the 2 wings at the top, the 2 wings in the middle, and the 2 wings at the bottom. And let me find another picture too, because
and for our listeners, it's on the audio, it's 6 wings and it's an eye in the middle.
And there's eyes covering the whole thing.
Covering the whole thing.
This is like, listen.
This is why we're not meant. To be honest, if we probably saw an angel, we probably would die.
Oh.
We'll probably.
Well, I guess that is the case. Like, yeah,
probably so terrified.
That's when you see angels, right?
Like,
yeah, this is. I'm gonna.
Or see him in his dream.
But what's also funny is like maybe I'm so human and sort of like in sin that this is disturbing to me.
No,
right?
No,
I don't know, because like think about it.
No, I think that if I love Pastor Pope, I think if he saw it, he'd be like, "Oh, time to go." I don't think it's meant for us to see God or his angels. I think they're so powerful and so omnipotent. If we see them, we're going to we can see them in a dream, or if we see them, we're going to be in we're going to die.
All right, I had to take that off.
Now. Because think about it, when God sends angels here, they're in human form. So we can be like, oh, okay, all right. We can't.
Well, we don't know that. Like, I can't really say.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I think that if you see an angel like this, you have to see it in your dream. If one flew right here, we'd be white.
Let's not even
like, what happened? Why are they like this? We'd be
talk about gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah.
If I see one of those things, okay, listen. Well, it would be meaning that you're blessed. So, okay. So anyway, you were talking about the seraphim, and about how Isaiah saw it, and he was actually woe is me, I'm ruined because I'm a man of unclean lips.
Yes.
And he touched his mouth with the burning coal, and he thought he was done for. So he was scared.
Yes.
Okay.
So what happens is I'm starting to realize Isaiah said he's unclean. Now, he's a prophet from the Lord that's living righteous than a lot of people in the Bible. And for him to say he's unclean, that just made me realize, like, you know what? I'm probably wretched in the eyes of the Lord every day. Even if you walk in the spirit, there's no way we cannot sin. Even if we like, man, I didn't even sin a day. God, like, you sinned 15 times. Right.
You just don't know. Which is why repentance.
Yes, every day.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
So that's why, and he took the tongues, and it was a burning coal, and he was purified. Bless you. So that's what stood out to me from 5 to 8.
So it says, what's the question? Can you read the question?
You ready for the question?
Yes.
The question is, bless you. Read Isaiah 6:8 again. I'm going to read it.
Okay.
And then, how does this inspire you? And then we're going to answer
Rose's question.
Rose. Yep. Good morning. On the spotlight.
Okay, so
anyway,
hey, on the spotlight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
good morning.
Good morning. All right, so Isaiah 6:8. You ready?
Yeah.
And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Then I said, "Here I am, send me."
Okay, and that's when
it says, "How?" Yeah.
So Isaiah said, "I'll go, send me."
Yes.
And so it's like, how does that inspire you?
Yeah.
Well, for one, just to be real here, I'm not sure that I would have said that. I mean, like, look, this is me reading the Bible, so like now that I know, right, like maybe I'll be more inclined to do that. But like just in practice, like in life, like I'm not necessarily the first person. Like sometimes I'll be the second person, or like if it's like one of those awkward Zoom meetings and they're like, what are people's thoughts? And like a good 35 seconds have passed, which is like 2 hours in Zoom time. Then I might be the one just to, just to sort of cut the awkwardness to be like, oh, sure, I have a thought, but I'm not necessarily like the first one out the gate, right? And so for Isaiah to say, send me, that's something that I'm gonna look and see how his story played out, but that's something that maybe I should be more apt to do. Like maybe this is my warning to say, like, not warning like something's gonna be bad, but maybe it's like when those opportunities arise, maybe I should be more inclined to say, well, here I am, send me, I'll volunteer. Sort of like to volunteer for stuff, which is really like the theme of this season for me. Like, okay, volunteer to serve, use your gift, like this. So this is like reigning true for me. But also, the other thing that inspires me is just kind of like, so that's Isaiah 6:8. But going back to like what led us there from when you read Isaiah 6:1-4, seeing how he came into that, like he was seeing God, he was seeing the seraphim, and he was shook because he was like, oh no, God's about to correct me. I'm about to be judged by God. Like this is it. Yeah. But instead of that happening, what he thought was happening, right? Anxiety. You think something's happening, you're scared of what's going to happen, and it never happens. Something else happens. After that took place, that's what made him like, oh, send me. Like, I'll do anything. Like, I'm renewed. I feel so, so the way that it inspires me, though, is like when God forgives you or when God resets you or what have you, like, don't think about the past. Just go with it. And just, send me. Oh, we're here now? Okay, send me. So that's one thing that I can take from that. And that's how it inspires me, because I'm thinking like, okay, he had one mindset, but then after he was sort of like cleansed, he was already set go. So there's that. But okay, but the thing that inspired me the most out of this, I'll tell you, this is so funny. It's so funny to read the Bible and to sort of like intertwine, like now that we're in the future. So like it's so funny to me when they do things that we still do. So for instance, there was something in Isaiah, was it 8? Yeah, Isaiah 8, which is also like Habakkuk, if I'm saying that right, 2:2. Take for yourself a large tablet and write on it in order of characters. And so like the huge takeaway for me is like writing things down. That's my hill that I'm gonna be on, guys. Like I so appreciate writing things down, and I like to say that Moses had a bullet journal, even though bullet journaling wasn't a thing back then. I mean, like all of those numbers and stuff they were taking, the census and stuff. Somebody had a bullet journal, and I think it was Moses. But it's all good. So anyway, now we're gonna get to Rose's question, because it was such a good question. Oh, On the Spot Live says, my first live over here, listen from the car. Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us. We're just talking about Isaiah 1-8. So like we read chapters 1-8. We actually read a lot more, but we're like, okay, we've been away for a while, so we're just gonna go through those excerpts, and so that's what we just did. But actually, one of our brilliant people in the comments here has a question for us that we're gonna get to now. Which that's not it. Okay, here it is. Not to get off topic, but what does showing accountability in love look like? I'm referring to Galatians 6:1 because I think I stay silent a lot of times because I don't want anyone to feel judged. Okay, can you turn to Galatians 6:1? Because I already have some thoughts. Even though you're referring to that, I have an idea based on what I've read so far in the Bible. Because this is not advice that I'm giving like, oh, this is what I would do. This is like from what I've read so far in the Bible. It seems like, so God's going to hold people accountable the way that they're held accountable through consequence, things like that. But as far as like showing accountability and love, I think it just looks like naming it, because there were a couple times where Jesus would answer people in questions. And I would think to myself, we haven't even gotten to the parts of the New Testament with Jesus, but what from the verses that I've read, and I've seen some similar things in the early parts that we've already read. It is like, sometimes Jesus will answer somebody with a question, which will answer their question. It's like the answer to they ask Jesus a question or they say something, then Jesus responds with a question, right? So now this is their answer. But in order to answer Jesus's question, you are now solving your problem, right? So it's almost like sort of like what our parents used to do, like, do you think that's the right thing to do or whatever, right? But like, I think that's what accountability kind of looks like. It's just like putting something in front of someone. So you're not telling them you need to go and do this or you messed up this way. It's just like, hey, you did this, right? So, or hey, do you think that was the best thing to do? I don't know how you would word it, but I think that's what accountability and love looks like, because it's really just, it's up for them to decide whether they want to, however they want to be, whether they want to be in sin or whether they want to be angry or irritated or however. But it's like, you're not holding them accountable in the way that you are responsible for their judgment. God's going to judge them. You're just holding them accountable in the way that you're saying the words, that you're saying, hey, it's Blue Shirt Tuesday, right? Just so you know, right? Like, I know you wanted to wear a red shirt today, and that's up to you. But I just wanted to let you know, like, it's Blue Shirt Wednesday or Blue Shirt Tuesday. And that way, it's like, you're not holding them to a stand. Like, you're just repeating it back to them. Yeah. You're just showing it to them because maybe they didn't know. I think that's what accountability looks like, is that you're not going to sort of like, and then sort of like from a harsher viewpoint, you're not just going to get away with nobody saying something. And that's all there is to it. Okay. Nobody's going to hurt you, but like, let's just talk real, right? Like, let's just say what it is. Okay. And I think that's accountability. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, let's read the
now.
verse.
Let's read the verse, because we didn't do that.
Might a little bit off.
Okay, I might be a little bit off.
Yeah. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any transgression, you who are spiritual should restore him in a spirit of gentleness. Keep watch on yourself, lest you be too tempted. So it's saying that.
Let's read it again. Sorry, because maybe I should read it in my version.
Yeah, because I think it's talking about holding people that love Christ accountable.
Okay, so other believers. Gotcha.
That's what I think it's saying.
I have read this before because
it's saying Christians. It's saying, I'm reading the study version. What it's saying is, Paul illustrates that he means by the life of the love of the Spirit. He describes general terms in the previous section. I think I say this all the time, and this is so interesting. So I made up this definition of accountability.
Yeah, you did.
And to hold somebody accountable. Remember, I said to be accountable, you need to walk in the Spirit.
I do remember you saying that.
Yeah, because walking in the Spirit is going to hold you accountable, because walking in the Spirit means you're fearing God, which we know gives you everything. When you walk in the Spirit, you're kind, you're not harsh. For instance, you can hold somebody accountable in the Spirit, and when it says be gentle to him and restore him, I think that is coming from love. So God tells us to bind steadfast love to our hearts, because if we keep our brothers accountable in love in Christ and we're walking in the Spirit, we have to be gentle with them, which means do not use harsh words. Be loving and kind, because that's who Jesus was. With other Christians are walking in the Spirit, I believe. We haven't got to Jesus yet, but because Jesus is God, that's what God says, right? You need to be if you're walking in the Spirit. If we're walking in the Spirit and I'm like, man, or you're like, honey, that's you're not walking in the Spirit by doing this. For you to talk to me about it, it needs to be gentle, soft, and the message needs to be delivered with steadfast love.
Yeah.
So at that point, because you don't want to be too harsh and go hard, because that could harden a person's heart. Like, and then it could come off as judgment versus you holding somebody accountable in love of Christ. Because if you come off too harsh, even though they're wrong, but if you come off too harsh, it's like, they came off too harsh, which means they don't love me, but you do love them. You just came off harsh.
Yeah.
So if you come off harsh, you can lose that person with their walk in the spirituality and the love of Christ. They could be gone because of the simple words, right? I think we don't understand how powerful words are, and God tells us the word is the word, the word is the truth, the beginning is the word. So everything in the Bible is the truth. Words are very powerful.
Yes.
And the simple direction, if somebody is harsh versus soft and gentle with their words, or like night and day.
True.
And that's what I gather with it from, right?
I like that, what you said. Let me jump in here. So I'm going to read this from the Amplified.
Hopefully that answers your question.
I think so, but I want to go in one more layer, and then we can. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any sin, this is again Galatians 6:1. Brothers, if anyone is caught in any sin, you who are spiritual, that is, you who are responsive to the guidance of the Spirit, are to restore such a person in a spirit of gentleness, not with a sense of superiority or self-righteousness, keeping a watchful eye on yourself so that you are not tempted as well. I think, obviously it's describing grace, but one thing that I just can't help but think of is like me being the person on the other side of being held accountable, right? Like, not that I'm holding someone accountable, but that someone's holding me accountable. And I would hope that they would do it very gently, because maybe I do know that I'm in sin and I'm just, rocking with it. And, but maybe I don't know. And so, either way, I don't want somebody to come at me all heavy. Like, I want them to get me out, but I don't necessarily want it to feel bad. Like you're in sin. Like it is what it is. Like it's gonna happen. But I don't want to be sort of like slapped out of sin or punched out of sin. Bring me back gently, because the gag is you're gonna be in sin too at one point. So if you're correcting me and you're doing it gently, now I know how to correct you. And when you're in a relationship with someone, as far as like having a long friendship or relationship with someone, you kind of know what to say, what to do, just from learning them. Like, okay, I don't want so-and-so to get upset about this, or I don't want them to freak out. Like, let me just use what I know about them to carefully help them. But it also says being careful not to fall in with your, in yourself. So it is a little bit of a risk there. And it kind of reminds me of that Inside Out movie. Isn't that funny that this has come up several times in the last few days or weeks? But the sadness character, whatever she touched would turn blue. It's almost like she was spreading, she was spreading. But I noticed that the other characters, when they touched stuff, it didn't really do that. So she must have been doing something. But anyway, it's a cartoon, guys. But what I realized is, like, you have to just kind of like get in there and get out because you don't want it to affect you so much that now you got two of you in sin now.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be in here helping this other person out.
Yeah.
But I think it's a fine balance between like just like, you know, maybe it's just a matter of just making a suggestion or just using what you know about the person to help them, because with the understanding that they're going to hopefully help you at some point, right? Like, you know, what does that look like for you? I kind of would just look at it like that, especially if I didn't know the person. Like, how would I want this to come across to me? How would I want somebody to tell me this? How would I want somebody to help me? I would want it, okay, so I would want it like this. Sometimes it's a matter of just addressing it right out. Like, I don't want to come across harshly, but I want to be obedient to God, and I feel compelled to say this to you, and I hope that doesn't come off bad. But that's just, you know, and then we can let it go from here. So, I mean, I think it's a work in progress too. So that's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay, wait, we have more comments. Oh, this is awesome, guys. Okay. So, Damita Jo says, I'm writing now. Yes, know that the Lord is pleased with you. Okay, from your writing, because that's what I'm noticing in the Bible. Of course, I'm noticing it because I love writing, but you know, just the amount of times you write stuff down. And then the fact that the Bible was obviously written down, and now here we are. And if somebody never bothered to write it down, like, oh, I'll remember it, you ain't gonna remember it, and then other people can't. She said, not Moses had a bullet journal. Yes, I do believe, okay, that Moses had a bullet journal. Okay, Rose says the question is always for us because Jesus already knows the answer before asking it. Yes, I love it. Yeah, that was in response to that one thing that I said, I think, about how Jesus poses a question. Right? Because he already knows the answer. But instead of saying the answer, he wants you to say the answer.
Yeah.
Like, you already know that. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right? That's so interesting. Okay, so those are all our comments. Thank you so much for being so
do a shout out
engaged. Yes, shouts out this week.
Oh, yes. Oh, and one more thing. Remember this. Ephesians 4:32. Be kind to one another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, as God in Christ forgave you. Always remember that.
What? Yeah, that's true. It's hard to remember though in practice. Which is why we're here. Seriously, like, we're encouraging ourselves. We're not perfect, obviously, and we are encouraged by reading the word. And like, so many times, I'll be angry, right? Like, which is wild because I'm not even an angry person, but I'll find myself in like full-blown irritation or anger and kind of like going back and revisiting the word. Sometimes I read a verse that I know is going to help me and I'll be like, like, I want to be mad. You know what I'm saying? It was just like so weird. But I think that's just a part of the journey. And the more you take in the word, the better you become and the more you're equipped to handle what comes. And like, sure, you go through your whole Bible and not read the whole life and not read the Bible, but it's only detrimental to you, right? Like, it's just like having a superpower. You could fly this whole time and you went through your whole life and you never tried to fly. And it's like, well, you could have if you would have just read the Bible and figured out how to use these powers. And that's really what it is. I mean, it's not like sorcery or anything like that, but it's just like, we have a living God. He's left us with the word. And it's like, okay, this is how it works. Yeah. How this life thing works. Anyway, we just encourage, we're here to encourage a community of Bible readers to pick up and read the Bible. You can read along with us or you can read at your own pace. We use this 365 daily Bible reading plan from teachsundayschool.com. But you can do it your way, you know. You can, you know, listen to us and read along with us, or, you know, but we just encourage people to read their Bibles and try to apply it, just like what we're trying to do. And it doesn't always work. But okay, shouts out this week. Before we end the episode. Actually, I've been on this book buying binge, but I'm always on a book buying binge. But you know what? It's a good investment. Okay. I love books. So anyway, someone who has been blessing me this whole entire week and maybe month, and beyond that, is this lady right here. If you don't have this book, Power Moves by Sarah Jakes Roberts, go out and get it. Actually, I haven't even started reading it yet, but I've been watching all of her podcasts, so I know what it's about, because she's been talking about it on all the podcasts that she's been visiting these past few weeks. But yeah, I really appreciate this lady right here, because she's so, I don't know, she's so inspirational, just the way that her life started out and how she had like sort of a tough time when she had her teen pregnancy and having all these eyes and stuff on her, and the way she has literally turned her life around. I'm loving her, because as usual, and I've been loving on her for maybe going on like 7 years now. Maybe it's been more like 6. But as soon as she's like, I caught wind that she was doing a podcast, and I would just kind of like tune in and out over some of the books that she's written. And she's always just a blessing, because she's so refreshing with her honesty, and she'll just be honest, and she's down to earth. It's just like she's one of us, like she's a preacher's kid, but she's like one of us, and she's a pastor now herself. But she's just so accessible. It's just like she's so human, and it's not like a lot of people where it's just kind of like holier than thou. She's very much just like a human being, and I see that in her. And so just shout out to Sarah Jakes Roberts. What she's been doing on this podcast tour has been so refreshing and just like inspirational. I just love, she's so funny too. So shout out to Sarah Jakes Roberts. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know I'm doing this. So why don't you go over there and tag her and on Instagram and tell her I sent you, so she can maybe contact me and she can be on our podcast. I'm kind of joking, but now I'm kind of not. So yeah, shout out to Sarah Jakes Roberts. That's my shout out for the week. Oh, and shout out to DCity Life Sisters, which I'm half of. You definitely should go over to DCity Life Sisters and link up with us there. We do a podcast, Those Two Sisters Live, every Thursday night. And for the saints out there, it's not a PG place. It's two sisters talking real life. And so, even though we're both saved and sanctified, it's not always so holy. Anyway, Jesus loves us, so there's that. So shout out to you.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna do this.
Oh no, actually, I haven't even started reading the show. I was gonna show it.
I thought you were gonna do a shout out with this.
No, I don't even know this person.
Okay.
Shout out to Myron, because he's the one who suggested this.
Oh, shout out to Myron Golden.
I'll show it. We're reading. This is what I'm going to be reading soon. Yeah. Not right now, but probably in the next couple months. Yeah. It's called Business Secrets from the Bible, by Rabbi Daniel LaPen. Yeah. But this is one of the books off of Myron Golden's reading list.
Yes.
So that's why I picked it up.
Yeah. Shout out to Myron Golden. Also, shout out to Fourth Quarter. It's a sports show that I have. We film every Wednesday, live around 7:15. It's for the fans, by the fans, with the fans. All right, so then I gotta get my
you are funny
sports voice on. All right, so I gotta get people in. All right,
do it, baby.
Then I have another show. Shout out to Rose. It's called Homecoming to HBCU Podcast, where we talk about stories, live, what's going on in HBCUs. I think it's important that they don't get enough highlight or enough funding, and they've been around for a very long time, and they were founded, for Black people, and it's part of our history. Yeah. So it's so many untold stories and so many things that are going on at HBCUs that aren't announced nationally, but just need more exposure. So that's what we do, and it's cool. Come over there. You're going to hear some nice stories, and these stories might contain some not explicit, but
wild thoughts.
They're college stories, guys. So
yeah.
During that time was different, and during this time is different now. So it's we're going to get into it. We always have some nice topics that we're going to talk about. So shout out to Homecoming, HBCU Podcast, Fourth Quarter, and shout out to IICIIG. Shout out to you guys.
Yeah, shout out to you guys.
Thank y'all for being here.
We really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, I know sometimes we're boring. It's okay.
I don't think that.
Okay.
But anyway,
Thank
maybe
you for
I am.
tuning
Anyway.
in.
Thanks for tuning in, and we'll
in.
see y'all next week. These last couple of comments here. Rose said that she wanted to read that book. She said her friend went to the conference in Houston, and the Sarah Jakes Roberts sold out both days. I know it's sold out in Houston because that's what the Potter's House is down in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, she's very inspirational. And Damita smiled, and then Homecoming, the HBCU podcast. We're just putting it up here on the screen. I'll probably update I'll update the description too.
I got it.
Anyway, all right. Thanks guys for joining us so much. We have a blessed week, and we will see y'all next week. And before we go, what's our motto?
Our motto is don't take our word for it.
Go to the source. Read your Bible.
All right,
bye. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.